Let's take a look at what pipelines mean in the context of feature flags with Harness. Now, normally when you hear the word pipelines, you might be thinking of a deployment, but we bring the same concept to feature flags, and it effectively means automations, business processes, or rules and governance that you want to apply when making flag changes. So let's take a look. Here we have the Harness feature flag UI. I can jump over to pipelines, and just like I might see in our CD module, I've got a list of pipelines here. Now, when we talk about pipelines with feature flags, we're talking about two things primarily, what we call release pipelines versus what we might call flag pipelines. Let's start with release pipelines. So a release pipeline is going to be a more robust pipeline with several steps that you might want to have take place on more like one-off events. So think of a major feature release where you want to roll things out in a coordinated way. You might have front-end, back-end notifications, maybe there's marketing or account updates that need to be included, and you don't want to have to do all these things manually on the day or days of where you're remembering to go make the changes one by one. So in this case, what we can see is we've got a step here which creates a JIRA that starts a feature flag rollout. The rollout then has an approval step, which is going to wait for a second step of a rollout, maybe going from non-prod to prod, maybe going from a subset of my audience to all of my audience. And in fact, we can see here it goes from 10%, there's an approval, and then 70, 90, and a full rollout. And so what you might have to do in a world without pipelines is for each one of these steps, you have to remember to do them, decide when to do them, have someone sitting at the computer to do them. Instead, you can build and model this whole process in a pipeline, run it, and this will all happen automatically, pausing when you need it to pause, waiting when you need it to wait. And it can include a whole lot of other things as well, such as custom script steps. So if you want to say turn on a flag and then provision a database migration that needs to run when the flag change, you can do that. You can include ServiceNow, email, you can do custom waiting steps, Jira steps, really any kind of process you want to build as part of your release strategy for a given flag. You can do it here with pipelines. Again, just like you might be used to doing with deploys, but now we're talking about releases with flags instead. So this is what we would call a release pipeline. But there is another kind of pipeline I want to talk about. And if I jump over to any individual feature flag, you'll see we have this feature up here called flag pipeline. Now what a flag pipeline is, it's a pipeline you want to have run every single time this flag changes in this specific environment, no matter what. Now, in this case, you're probably not going to want very complicated or robust pipelines because those are going to be reserved for bigger, less frequent release scenarios. This is the kind of governance you just want every single time. So I've assigned this pipeline to be a flag pipeline, and I can jump over to pipelines here. It's this one, and I can see this is a very simple pipeline. It's just got two steps, an approve and then a flag change. So what's going to happen is now that I've built this pipeline, I can go ahead, use it as the flag pipeline, and just like you see here, anytime this flag changes, whether it changes via the UI, via GetSync if someone updates the YAML, or programmatically if someone's doing something in the API, this flag can't change without running through this pipeline now, which means this pipeline, it has an approval, maybe it has notifications, whatever you want to have happen, it's going to happen 100% of the time this flag changes. So it is a very important and critical guardrail that you can have in production per flag, because there may be flags that you just need a high amount of governance and automation on every time, versus, again, those release pipelines that may be less frequent, but they're also going to be a lot more robust, like we initially saw here. Now, if you want more information, you can always jump over to the Harness docs. We've got a whole section here in the feature flag docs on using pipelines with flags, and we're always happy to chat with you if you want more info. That's pipelines with Harness feature flags.